So I got this. This is a review unit for my first ever blockchain phone, the Sirin Labs Finney, as they call it. So I'm pretty interested in blockchain phones because it's providing a kind of a new way for people to store cryptocurrencies, especially if they can carry out on the go with them. So what makes this phone special is this little slider up here. So this slides up and it acts as a whole separate hardware device, kind of like a hardware wallet strapped onto your phone. But at the same time, I'm quite conflicted on this review because on one hand, I want to promote new technologies like this and encourage people to develop and come up with new hardware. But at the same time, this hardware costs $899. And I'm just constantly wondering to myself, who would buy this? Who is this phone for? Is it for the average consumer? Is it for blockchain enthusiasts? Is it for someone like me? Or is it for a professional trader or fund manager who needs to take a lot of crypto on the go? On top of this, we have some other entries into the blockchain phones category, the Exodus 1. And more importantly, this is what was breaking the internet about 2 weeks ago. Samsung declared, or there's Samsung leaks, that they have a Samsung blockchain key store, including crypto wallets. And of course, there's software wallets too. So you can just install some wallets like the Engine wallet. And I'll tell you about the differences between, what the advantages and disadvantages of each system is. The major feature of this phone is this. This slider out here is a whole different hardware component. And it's essentially like strapping a hardware wallet onto this phone because it's got a separate secure element. It's almost like it's got a separate brain and a separate storage area for your cryptocurrency keys. And this is what keeps it safe because even if this phone is compromised, it's running Android, and who knows how secure Android is in the long run. And if the phone gets compromised, there's always this off chance that hackers can have access to your private key. But in this case, it's being stored on another separate device. And even the input for that device is done via another screen and another piece of hardware. So that's where the extra security comes in. So let's give a quick demonstration of how to use this wallet and send some BTC. So on this wallet, you have my BTC. So I have a very small amount there, about $1. So I'm going to press the send button and I can scan a QR code. So I'm going to shoot a quick donation to Andreas Anto. Here, you got the address being shown up, and then you can press next. And here you can enter the amount. So I'm just going to enter like 50 cents. Like, there you go. Or max. Let's do max. All right. And when you start that, you're gonna open the top part, and this is where the hardware wallet comes in. So here you're gonna enter your password. So it's unlocking it just like a ledger. My password is box, and I can show you guys here. It's a little bit hard to press it because of these two buttons over here. You got the left and right button, and my finger is a little bit big, so pressing that is a little bit hard. So the reason why they have a keyboard on top is because they don't want a compromised Android system over here to compromise or steal your password. So here, box trying to type that in. Yeah, you're gonna just press it. I personally found that the touch area is a little bit bigger than what you might think. So over here, it implies that it's very tiny. I think if you click here in the middle, it kind of works too. So just getting used to that. BO, and then X. So you have to enter this for every time you send and receive crypto, and it just makes the whole system safer. Also on top, so once it's done, also on top, you can see the address of which you're sending it to. So it's a separate from the original screen here. So you just get the extra verification to make sure the whole address is correct. And then you scroll to the end, and then you can accept or approve or disapprove of this transaction. And there we go, transactions complete. So you can see that the send is relatively easy, minus the using these touchscreen part. I still find it's a little bit clunky because of how thick my butter fingers are. So just clicking that little small area, because the fact that it's not a hardware button. So unlike on the Ledger where you have these little two buttons on top to scroll and navigate, you're essentially having to do the same actions, but on a touchscreen and on a very small touch surface as well. So I think it's getting used to it, and also you don't want to press it too hard. I find that if you are this slider part doesn't feel like the safest thing. I think like if I press too hard on here, I'll break it. Now, in terms of security, I think this phone definitely has the most security out of all the blockchain options. So if you look at the option for the Exodus phone, what they have is they have a separate area of storage that's also on the same board, and it uses a screen for input. And what they did to kind of get around with making the input more secure is they have a separate kind of operating system that's separate from the Android OS, but it's still using the same screen as the Android. So if someone can duplicate or replicate a keyboard that looks similar, there is an off chance they can try to hack into your device. Now, we don't really know, I don't really want to speculate here on what Samsung has in store for us. So, many articles, they talk about this being a cold wallet storage, but it's unlikely that Samsung's going to include a separate hardware and secure module into every single S10 phone that's out. It's very likely they'll use a software wallet version, and this will be as secure as every other software wallet. In terms of performance, this machine is quite a beast. It's got the Snapdragon 845 processor, which means 3D games run on it really well. It's also got 6GB of RAM, which means you can multitask very well. And it's also got 128GB of internal memory, so that's for a lot of photos and movies. So it's very much in line with the top of the end spec 2018 phones. I do want to note that it is 2019, so there will be a new slew of Android devices coming this year. But, that's a story for another day. In terms of the hardware side, I think this phone is very, very well built. And in fact, when I was reviewing it, I did drop it on the floor from kind of about, half a meter distance, and it did manage to survive without any visible scratches or marks. But that doesn't say it's indestructible. I think having anything this big and heavy like this, you probably want to put a case on it. So now let's go for some Q&A. I did a quick post on Twitter to ask if you guys have any questions about this phone that I can directly answer. So I'll try to answer them as much as I can. Here they ask, CGGG says, do you own any Sirin? Is a token necessary for the phone to function, or can you just use Ethereum for everything? So from my understanding is that they have a wallet, and the wallet you can place Bitcoin or Ethereum and some ERC20 tokens. You don't need Sirin unless you want to do an exchange. So it's not mandatory. I'm pretty much reviewing this as a separate hardware device. Now we have Jimmy Hoffa says, have you earned any tokens from the educational aspect of the phone? Sirin has implied that what does this actually look like? Will you be able to earn enough tokens to pay for the phone itself, or at least to some extent? So you got automatic airdrops basically when you use this phone. And when I used it, I got 2 of these airdrops. Personally, I find, airdrops are a very 2018 thing when ICO was super hot and people really wanted to have the extra little bit of token. Honestly, if you're buying this phone, I will definitely just say, don't consider this as a substantial form of income. And of course, of the 2 ICO tokens I did get, there's no exchange trading for it, so we don't really know the value of this. We also have a question being concerned about security. What are the actual benefits of a blockchain phone? Will your cards be recorded on the blockchain? Greetings. So with this phone in particular, the only benefit comes from the hardware wallet, which is essentially like a 2-in-1, a hardware wallet strapped into this phone. Their calls and everything else, they work on as Android as normal, and well, they won't be recorded on a blockchain. So in terms of performance of the build, it's actually quite good. So Sirin built their own version of Android. So right now this is on Android 8.1 Oreo, and it has its own security center as well. So this is meant to protect you from additional threats. In terms of performance, this runs pretty well. The keyboard is very, very responsive. It runs, and it goes to show how much Android has grown in the past 3-4 years. Before Android had a few of these clunky issues and apps slowly. That's mostly gone, especially with these newer, faster processors and throwing in the 6GB of RAM as well. You're like how much RAM do you really need? So yeah, 6 gigs on a phone of RAM, that means your programs, you can just flip through them at ease. In terms of running games and stuff, I played Hearthstone on it, runs pretty fine, and the battery life is pretty okay. There were a few issues with Chrome, so for some reason, when I was downloading APKs on Chrome, it did crash on me a few times, but I kind of went away after a while, I guess, after maybe it's to do with the fact that the security center is scanning it. Now comes the hard part, which is reviewing this phone and if it's worth it. And to be honest, if it's worth it depends on who you are. Because if you're like me and only take around $10 to $100 of crypto out for occasionally some coffee and some things you can buy with crypto, then a software wallet would do just fine. It's free, you can install it on any single phone you have, and it's safe enough, good enough for small quantities of crypto. So where this phone really shines and where there's no real kind of opponent even in this category is for a hardware wallet. So a hardware wallet integrated into your phone. So if you have the extra cash and you need to carry around a large amount of cryptocurrency with you always, then this is definitely a good option because having this piece of hardware on here means that no hacker can touch this secure module inside. It's like having essentially a ledger on you with you at all times. In terms of the plain specs of the phone, it's a pretty good phone. There's nothing. There's like it's a beast of a phone. So at the end of the day, it really depends on your personal needs and preferences. If you need to take a lot of crypto out with you at all times and you need extra security, definitely consider this phone. If you don't, then why not just get a free Android or iOS wallet to install on your phone and, well, problem solved. And that's it for this review. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this phone. If you guys own one, send me a comment down below. I'd love to hear what your impressions are. And if you have any additional questions, I'll try to do a follow-up video in the future. So make sure you subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with that. And if the review helped you in any way, do hit that like button. It really always helps this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.